Okay, I'm in one of those moods. Welcome. This is Rick DiClemente. We're ready to go with episode 199 tonight. And I'm going to tell you a whole lot about our special guest. I'm not allowed to use that word, but our very special guest next week on the 200th episode of Astrology Unplugged. Thank you for joining us either live or whether you're coming across from YouTube. Tonight, I want to do a little talking about Trump's chart. I want to talk about where we are. I want to play a very special 5-minute segment by Carolyn Myss on the internet, which is just awesome. And we just had our next guinea pig fall in our lap. Where'd she go? We got Tai Chi, not Tai Chi. Tai Chi just showed up. You run away from me. You stay right there because we're probably going to do her chart later. Okay, now, first thing I want to tell you is this. I got into spiritual stuff around 69 and reading Ram Dass's book, Be Here Now, and all that stuff. And we really started out in a rather small way. And I just got to tell you, it's just astounding what we, all of us, have done in this world since 1970. It's just 50 years is really quick. And you look now, and there's people got shingles out everywhere. Half of them are Reiki, but that's okay. And that's why I've invited Linda Veros back on the show. And she could come back and talk about the healing, but this time she's an expert on Reiki. She's going to be talking to us about Reiki, what it is, what it isn't, what Reiki symbols are, etc. Now, but I'm kind of taking my hat off to everybody because, yeah, we got a lot of clowns and we got a lot of people really far behind, but we got a lot of people that have really gone far with their own exploration inside themselves. And that's just masterful. And it's a wonderful thing to see. Isn't that right, Dr. John? Okay, I'm just checking, make sure he's awake. Right. Hey, John, the recording is going, so we're okay. All right. Now, I don't like using my glasses, so let me see here. Okay, I want to tell you about the election. What did I tell you months ago? I told you that we're going to see an election, and we're going to see this questionable period in between the two, and we're going to see something happen, which I kind of declared January 20th, the Supreme Court would have to stand up. Anyhow, we don't really need to talk about the election, but I do know that I was warned real bad not to use a mail-in ballot, and he ended up losing by mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania. So thank God. And so did Catherine Sweet, thank God. Anyhow, what I'm getting at is this. I was sitting around the past couple of weeks. You may have seen my article. I put it on Facebook. I put it on my email list. If you're not on my email list, go to starself.com, sign up for my newsletter, which is not so much about newsletters anymore, sometimes. But this past week, I put out an article, and it's about why is Trump the way he is. And here's what I'm getting at. Now, his chart's obnoxious. His chart is crazy. It is flipped out. It does all these things. He's got a lot of charm. He got all this stuff. But I asked myself, who in the world would put up with what he puts up with? Now, that's not the Taurus energy. Taurus you see in the Senate, in the House, because these people with great Taurus energy, they just dig in and they keep pushing. But look at the stuff, the crap that this man is the joke of, everything in every country. They got pig balloons in the sky. They're joking and putting this guy down. He comes back for more, he comes back for more, he comes back for more. And I'm not stupid. I mean, I'm a pretty good astrologer. And I started staring at it. And what happens to me, at least, is I do so many charts, I can't notice everything in every chart. And I found it. I found what makes him tick. And you wait till you see it. All right, here we go. Here's his chart. All right. I'm not going to talk about the other points because they could keep me going forever. But what I found out was his sub-generation is born with Eris opposite Neptune. And this is a symbol to you astrologers who are not following Eris. It's time to follow Eris. It's time, and this is proof. Eris is spending 120 years in the sign of Aries. So you see at 6 degrees he was born. 6 degrees I was born. Marcia was born. So it moves very slowly. In our whole lifetime, it's gone from 6 to 24. That's it. Because so far away. So somebody said to me, oh, well, you really can't consider that because it's opposite Neptune. Neptune's moving real slowly. And Eris is moving even slower. Well, he's right. But look at the T-square. Goes to Mercury. There's the story. You got Neptune square Mercury, which is delusion. You got Mercury in Cancer. Mercury's the ruler of Geminis. This is his ruling planet. And you got Eris here in Aries. And Eris is in Aries in the 8th house. Now, let me talk to you about Eris and Aries in the 8th house. I will do whatever I can. I will do whatever I got to get my way. I will disrupt anywhere I can disrupt. I will do it. I will bring it down. Neptune's opposite says, it's okay with me. Neptune says, I don't care what you do. It's all right. Because we understand that you're doing it for the love of the people. That's the bullshit of Neptune. But it takes a powerhouse combination of Eris in Aries and Neptune. There is the power of this chart in terms of, not real power, it's really weakness, in terms of just never stopping, asserting yourself, can't be me, you're all wrong, you're all wrong, you're all wrong. That's where it comes from. And you tell me we're not in an Arisian age? We're battling for what's right. We're battling for people that are underdogs, battling for people who've been excluded, battling for things that are not fair. What does he put in every other sentence? The word fair. Every other sentence. It ain't fair, it ain't fair, it ain't fair. Well, he's got the Venus, Saturn in Cancer, and Saturn and Pluto have been bombarding that. That's really what brought him down. If he in fact is down, because he's going to prop up his own TV network, and who in the hell knows what he's going to do. But there's the answer to his chart. It's the Eris in Aries, opposite to Neptune, T-square. They're all close within 2 degrees. I keep telling you about orb. Look at the planets closely. How far? Are they off by 5 degrees? Are they off by 1 degree? You got to focus on the orb. Now look here. Eris at 6, Mercury at 8, Neptune at 5. So at its widest angle is 3 degrees. That's pretty powerful. And when a planet goes over that point, which is not, when a planet goes over that point, 5-6 degrees of cardinal, you will see him really act out. Okay, so I wanted to give that to you. That's the real story of what's going on here, because that's why he keeps bobbing up. He's not a Leo, he's a Gemini. Geminis are, you get whacked in the face, you turn your head, you try something new. He's got that Mars in Leo, but it's that Eris that it's just never wrong. It's just never wrong. Anyhow, enough of that, because he's a rather uncolorful subject. All right, now, I was watching, somebody showed me a wonderful video by Carolyn Myss. If you've not heard of Carolyn Myss, MYSS, she's a wonderful author. She spent most of her career as a medical intuitive, telling people what was wrong with them physically without touching them. And she has since become an extraordinary philosopher and spiritual leader. She's got a lot of good videos out. She does a lot of work with the archetypes, which is the basis of astrology. She has a lot of books out about the archetype of the clown, the archetype of the prostitute, the archetype of the saboteur, the archetype of the hero. She has books helping you to ascertain what your archetypes are, which is much like getting an astrology reading. I ran across a 5-minute section where she was talking about the age that we're in now. I was talking to you earlier, John. We are in a very special age right now, but we're not in an age, and the cancers of this country don't want to hear this. We're not in an age where we're guaranteed that there's going to be a 2021 for America or a 2022. We don't know. We just don't know. We can't think from our ego what we want to see. We have to think about what's really going on. So let me play this little 5-minute segment by her. She's a Sagittarian. It's a rather wonderful take. Here, let me get this ready. I can't do that. Let me get this ready here. All right. Back to here. Share my screen. Back to here. Here she is.
I consider it an extraordinary privilege to be alive now, by the way, because we are living in this incredible time of transformation. And you know, that's a word that we can toss around a lot, a time of transformation or whatever, but really this is exactly that. We really are transforming from one type of species to another. And I deeply want to take that apart with you so that you get that this is actually really happening. That's not a word, a casual word. This is actually a phenomenon that's happening. And whether or not people consciously participate in this, or they say, no, I don't want to go along with that, they have no choice. It's not unlike when you know discoverers realized that the world was round and not flat. And cartographers could have said, no, 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 I'm not going along with that. I've invested all my ink in flat maps, and the world is going to stay flat so far as I'm concerned. Well, it was too bad because the time had come for people to realize the world was round, and like it or not, that's where everybody was going. That's kind of like this moment that whether or not a person wants to get on board this age of energy, it has arrived. So whether or not we like the fact that we've become a global community energetically through energy technology, that moment has arrived. Whether or not we can cope with the fact that that means we must proceed with becoming a global community for all sorts of reasons. That is a next step. Um, for a lot of people, that is a hurdle, not a step. And it is a wall. And they want to put up a wall. No, we're not going there. But we are going there because that's what evolution demands. And there's no amount of walls or hurdles that is going to stop the force of evolution. It is time. And not only is it time, your own bio, spiritual, ecological immune system is moving in the direction of whole. So all of us are moving in that direction. It's the signature message of our age. To that extent, and with that in mind, when I look at, I should say, when I look at the classic religions, it is apparent that their theologies cannot keep up and have been unable to keep up with the essential teachings of modernity. What the, shall we say, global human, the person who needs to be instructed in what it is to become a global human being, the type of theology when someone needs to understand a global ecology, a global community, the type of theology that one needs to have can no longer be sustained, is not coming from the traditional religions at their political level. And this is an important part of this whole evolution. It is coming from their mystical traditions, but not from their political religious.
Okay, well, I thought that was marvelous, and she is highly recommended. You can tell she's brilliant. She understands the archetypes. I don't know where that came from. It came out of nowhere, like most things do. But did you notice that she kept talking about energy, energy, energy? I think she's a little bit off. I think the age of energy, it's still here, but it's kind of over. It's the age now of intention. Now, her name again is Carolyn Myss, M-Y-S-S. Her last name is M-Y-S-S. You'll find out lots about her on the internet. Carolyn, Carolyn, Myss, M-Y-S-S. She has a lot of great books. Now, one of the things she's talking about, and I think you can see this out there, we are being swept away. John and I talked about this before the show about what's happening and are we heading towards an iceberg? Well, I don't know if we are or not, but I know that it doesn't matter because the Titanic is just another illusion. The point is, there's two ways to deal with this coming future. One is to own your intentions. One is to shy away from them. Because what she's showing is that we are in the age of where we're seeing our intentions manifest directly. And I told you, we got one new planet in 1700 and one new planet in 1800 and two new planets in the 20th century and 80 new planets just 14 years ago. That's a big deal. That means that our psyches have widened to be able to at least grok some of the implications and the behaviors of these archetypes. Now, naturally, a lot of people are getting mowed over. They can't keep up. They just can't keep up. And what do you think is going to happen to them? They just can't keep up. I'm not trying to make this up or glad they aren't or glad they are. They're going to get lost. They can't keep up. And I guess that's a real good plus for a reincarnation, so you come back again. Try it again. I don't know all the details, but I do know that she kept talking about people want to put up a wall. Well, we've heard enough of that word for years, as if a wall's going to help you. You got a tsunami coming to your house, you're going to go up and put up a wall. It's nature to do that, but it's kind of absurd. And look what's happening now to the wall. Now they're going to start taking the thing down, using it for other stuff. Okay? The problem all along with Trump's chart was his wall. I'll show you. It was the problem to begin with. In Trump's chart, here's the Venus Saturn that I told you about years ago. This is about putting up an emotional wall, and Saturn and Pluto right now are at 23, 24. They're exactly opposite his wall. They're right opposite the wall. And Eris is at 24 here at a right angle to his wall. So his wall got blasted. And what was his wall? His wall was Venus Saturn, and the negative side of Venus Saturn is I'm blocking people out. When I see Venus Saturn on people and they come to see me, I talk about was your mother sad? Was dad sad? Did they teach you you didn't deserve love? What was the manifestation of this? Were they just kind of cool? What was going on? But you have to observe that. You have to start at that archetypal level to try to investigate. But what it means in a lot of people is you can come into my foyer, but you're not getting into the house. I'll let you into the foyer. There's a nice little mince for you, but you're not coming in the kitchen. And a lot of people's hearts are that way. You get this far, but no further. I understand it. I'm not being judgmental. But what we're seeing is that that answer collectively will no longer work. That's why I can't say whether we're going to survive or not. Mr. Trump had his chance the last 10, 20 years. He had his chance at some level. I don't know. But some preacher got to him, some book got to him, some person got to him. I guarantee it. Because as Pluto and Saturn were coming opposite his Venus Saturn, he had the opportunity to look inside to see how blocked he was, to start to work on lowering his walls and loving more. That was the answer. And if he had tried, he didn't have to conquer it. If he had just tried, the planets know and they come and help you. But he didn't. He was so bad at it that he got 70 million other people with him. So, whatever. The answer is not a wall. We all know the answer is to take down the wall. So when Carolyn talks about that, we're being swept up in this age. It is a new age. She's talking about the collective. The collective is changing. The collective is changing. And it's requiring us to be more global people. It's the word she used. And those are Uranian words. What does that mean? That means we work together. We work together to rebuild stuff, or else it's over, John. We work together to rebuild it, or it's over. Is it going to break out into a civil war? One of the big things you have now happening is one side is projecting onto the other side that the other side is going to do what they would have done. That's the big problem right now, projecting that the other side did what they would do. Enough of that, because I'm sick of it. But the final thing that she did say, which I really chime to, Pluto's return is here, Rick. Yes, you're exactly right, John. I'm reading messages on the screen for you YouTubers, because when you're live like us, we can send messages to each other. YouTube won't show our names and it won't show the messages. So anyhow, what she was saying is the religions are crumbling, not because somebody's decided that they're no good and they should crumble. It's because they're not real. The basis of the Course in Miracles, which you got the expert coming next week, is what's real survives and what's not real falls apart because it ain't real. So this stage of the priest up there with his smoke going around and everybody going, and all this mumbo jumbo and everybody sit down, kneel down, stand up. It's not good enough. It's not satisfying to the people participating. I want to participate with God. I don't want you up there behind the altar. You are the Holy One and I'm back here. I'm the saved a wretch like me. Doesn't work anymore because we're all golden. We're all golden. And so the old systems have to die. New systems are going to come in place. Now, just so happens, that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Just so happens this little old guinea pig walked up on this show named Tai Shi. She walked in, and she's from Georgia too. And Claudia's over there grinning because Claudia put her up to it. And I know that you did. And I got Tai Shi ready. We're going to do her chart because I really realized that over the months, I have been too shy of or lacking in doing charts because it sounds boring to the viewer. I don't care because it's not boring. If you watch what happened last week, we blew her head off because it was wonderful and it was what she needed, and we all got a high from it. So we welcome Tai Shi from the land of crazy votes of the two senators in Georgia.
I'm happy to be here.
It was so nice to have you. Thank you, Claudia, for being a bad influence on her.
No, never.
Let me tell the other viewers while they're at it. If you want to join us live any Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, just go to Google, type in Astrology Unplugged, and you'll get the link to join us for free. I got up to 100 seats, so they're never full. I have no idea about Tai Shi. I'm going to do her chart now, and that means that she's ready.
Yeah.
I've learned I don't even have any idea what's in. I know she's a Leo. I have no idea what's in her chart, what the story is going to be. So we're going to take her chart apart and take a look at it and see where it leads to. Okay?
Okay.
Anybody want to say anything else about part one of the show before I turn the page? Okay. Linda's got her hand on her mouth, so that means we're okay. All right. We're going to switch to her chart. Okay. Miss Tai Shi.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's her chart. I got to get it on your screen.
Yeah, my eyes are bad, and I'm on my
You'll
phone.
see this one. August 7th, 1985. What do we see automatically? Miss Cheerleader, Sun in Leo, Mars in Leo, Mercury in Leo, opposite Jupiter, Uranus rising in Sag. Woo! She drove the cheerleader bus. She's not just a cheerleader, she drove the bus. This is at the point of a T-square. Look at all this Leo, all this Sag. Okay, you got the Sag. Sag is the sign of the cheerleader. I can't get you on my screen. I can only see other people. Let me see here.
No, I don't. I don't want to be on the screen. Excuse me. I have to look at
I
my
want
phone.
you on my screen so I can see you. That's okay. I'm used to talking to the wall. That's all right. Okay, so we have a lot of fire. A lot of fire usually means a lot of spirit. The moon is very strong in Taurus. It's very strong in Taurus, and it's right opposite Pluto. Ooh, does that change things? 4 degrees, 2 degrees, and they make a T-square to Mars and Leo. So what this means, you get the moon opposite Pluto, which is really hard to interpret, and it makes a T-square to Mars and Leo. We got some family fight going on here. We got some family fighting going on with Tai Shi and Mama. Now, moon opposite Pluto is very difficult to translate because there's so many possibilities. I had a girlfriend one time. It took me 3 years to interpret her moon opposite Pluto.
Wow.
3 years till I felt, that's what it is. Because the moon has so many signs. What it usually means is the mother and the daughter are not having a healthy relationship emotionally. It usually means that we don't know, we're going to keep the word blame out of here, but what it usually means is one is taking advantage of the other emotionally, and it can also be the other, and they could go back and forth. One's dominating the other, one's being dominated. And in astrology, you learn that to dominate or being dominated are the same thing.
Mhm.
But what we're looking at is our possibility that's very strong of codependent relationships. And what that does is that leads to codependent relationships later. Usually, a person with the moon opposite Pluto has uneven relationships. And by the way, Taishi, this is going to be on video, so you don't have to take notes if you don't want to.
Okay. Okay. Even
You're
better.
going to have it there, but you can if you want.
Okay.
Now, without embarrassing yourself, because it's not my intention, what happened between you and your mom? And we saw it's really close. See, when it was wider, I wouldn't put so much weight upon it. But when it's close, like 3 degrees, I know it's true somehow. What was uneven between you and your mom?
Excuse me. I would say maybe emotionally she wasn't very open. So I would think maybe that was our biggest issue.
What sign is she?
She is I believe Sagittarius. Her birthday is December 12th.
Okay, well, most of the time Sagittarius are pretty open, but sometimes they can be upbeat and kind of loud, but not really open emotionally.
Mm-hmm. I think
Okay.
that's more so.
Did she change her tune all the time? This is very Sagittarius. Like she insults you, then she says, "I didn't mean it."
Mm-hmm.
That's very
Yeah.
Sagittarius. To insult you, oh, I didn't mean that, just words. You see that
Yeah.
Trump's chart. That's all over Trump's chart with his moon and Sag. Sagittarius can be very blunt and words can hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And Leo children need one thing. See if you people can get this. If you read our book called The Exquisite Zodiac, it maps it out real clear in here. What do you think? What do you think the one thing, you can unmute yourself if you want. What do you think the one thing a Leo child really needs?
I would say attention if I had to guess.
Attention is real close to the first answer, but it's not it.
I'll let someone else.
Take all the guesses you want, anybody.
I think they need validation.
Validation is really huge. Very good answer. Affirmation, yes. All these things are really, really close. The answer is respect. You give a Leo person no respect and you are done.
Mm-hmm.
They will not listen to you again. They got an X through your whole existence. Now, all this talk about Leo with sunshine, Leo with center stage, Leo with attention, all of that is true. But it's really because they need the respect because they're an uncertain sign. See, in this book shows how Leo comes out of Cancer. This book ties all the signs together. And Cancer is a sign that is not very certain of itself. It needs the family very badly. And Leo needs respect, attention, and they grow. The main key to Leo is they grow in confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So they either grow in confidence or they become bottomless, and no matter how much applause there is never enough, i.e. Madonna. So one of the things that can happen, especially in this chart, I saw it already, there was competition between her and her mother. A lot of people think that there's a finite amount of love in the family. There's a finite amount of attention, the finite amount of money. And they get into this competitive thing. And it's really hard to fight a Sag because if Sag just changes the subject and tells you you're taking it too seriously. How do you think Trump got to where he got to? Moon and Sag, that's how I got there. Tell me if that's true or false.
For me, it's true.
Well, what happened? Give me an example of the dynamics between you and her.
Well, a lot of it was when I was younger. Since I've gotten older, it's been a lot better.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess I'm on the spot. I can't think of anything specifically in this moment, but it's been better now. So I guess it's, I guess I've kind of maybe blocked that stuff out, and I've been focusing on, the better of our relationship.
Well, that's good, because I always start my reading with one question to keep it terse, short.
Mhm.
Between the ages of 5 and 15, how did you feel when you were with this parent? Not how were they, how did you feel when you were with them? So between the ages of 5 and 15, how did you feel when you were with your mother?
Maybe that I just didn't get enough attention.
How did you feel?
I guess alone.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. All right, what sign was your dad?
I believe it's Scorpio, November 18th.
Same question.
Oh no, my dad and I were very close.
Okay.
Extremely close.
Now, I want to tell you something, and this is from a lot of experience. Sometimes the moon in the chart or Saturn in the chart, you think it represents mom, maybe it's dad. Well, I'm telling you, sometimes it's both, and sometimes it changes.
Mhm.
The moon is really, really unconscious. It's very puddle-like. It's really hard to follow. And after 3 years with the friend I had, I finally realized that her issue was nothing the mother did. The mother was fine, but the child, they had so many children, 10, that the child felt bad because the child felt ignored. She felt guilty for being ignored. It took me all those years to figure that out. But in reality, the child should get some attention. You've had this child, right? You should give it some emotional support. But that's what I'm trying to talk to you about. Sometimes the moon is really hard to put a finger on. All right, now that's just one part of this chart. But did you notice where that goes? That moon opposite Pluto goes where? It goes to Mars and Leo. That's what Trump has on his ascendant. It goes to Mars and Leo. What's Mars and Leo? Well, by God, I'm going to do what I want anyway, and I don't care what you say because I know I'm right. See, she's holding her face.
That is me.
Sure, it's you, because you are your planets.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying to you that that's wrong or right. I'm just saying you had to pay the price for being so headstrong.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm telling you, in some ways, your mom probably thought it's kind of cute and fun.
I don't know about that.
Sagittarius are fun loving. But yeah, well, look at your chart. See how the T-squares are so important. Okay, you got this moon opposite Pluto. Moon opposite Pluto, 2 degrees, 4 degrees, and it goes to Mars at 8 degrees. It's in the 8th house. Okay. It's opposite Jupiter. Well, let me tell you one thing, and I don't want to go into this too far, but let me tell you one thing about Mars and Venus in the 8th house. Let's just say Miss Tai Shi investigated sexual activity earlier than most of her girlfriends, and if mom said something about it, it was just too damn bad. Change the subject. Do you see where that comes from? Comes from the 8th house. I'm going to do what I want to do. The 8th house, Mars and Leo, is I know what I'm doing. Give me the car keys. Give me the car keys. I know what I'm doing. She's hiding. She's putting up.
Oh my gosh.
This is where it comes from. But what does that really mean, Tai Chi? It means that when you get into emotionally challenging situations, this is very, very important. When you get into emotionally challenging situations, you tend to not stick with it and learn from it. You tend to just pick something that you want to do and go do it, and you go out and fight on the top of the hill. Challenge me. Go ahead and challenge me. Nobody can challenge you because you're just too tough. But what happened to the problem? Never got dealt with. See? So now you're learning that you tend to fly off the handle and be too aggressive in fighting instead of staying back with the emotional situation, which has probably got a lot of kernels in it for your growth. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. It definitely does.
All right. Now, I want to take a look at your chart now and place today's planets on them to see what's going on, because the planets are very heavy now. What are the planets doing that's stirring up your chart? All right. All right. So right now, you've got Saturn in Scorpio. That can be very tough. You got Uranus rising. You are quite a free spirit, boy. Don't try to hold this girl down. She's gonna fly. And I want to know what happened. You got a nice birth time, 321. You subtract this degree from this degree, the degree of this planet, the degree of the ascendant, and you do what's called a solar, a directed chart, direction, a direction progression. Okay, 4 degrees, 14 degrees. So just about exactly on your 10th birthday, 10 degrees different, you move this a degree every year, 10 degrees, this ascendant ran into Uranus, and surprise! So what happened at age 10?
Age 10.
Shockingly, very sudden, liberation. You were suddenly liberated.
I think when I was 10 turning 11, I moved to a different city, and that was a big deal.
Was it real liberating?
Yes.
Okay, that's what matters. Why did I say liberating? Because it ran into Uranus.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you got to that new city, you had more elbow room. You were freer to move, like rather
Yeah.
than the old. Okay?
Yeah.
That was the directed chart that showed me that. The reason I picked on that is because of this. Directions around the ascendant and around the nadir are really critical. These two areas, this area and this area, because they're very critical to your formation. Now look at Saturn. Saturn hit this point. 9, age 13. So all of a sudden, age 13, boom, somebody hit the brakes on her. Age 13, 14, you ran into a brick wall, and all your free form, loving, carefree motion, boom, came to a stop. What happened then? Was there something with your father?
No, well, my father passed away when I was 11, and that was sudden and unexpected. But 14, I can't. My memory is so hazy. Like I have to really. I can't think of anything.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Let it simmer. Your brain will find it. It was around age 13, and it was all of a sudden you realizing things were not that easy, and you had to grow up and accept some hardship. Okay, that's how Saturn looks. Okay, let's take a look at this chart again. Where are the big planets right now?
Excuse me. You said when I was 13?
Yeah.
Around the time I was 13?
Yes.
Okay. So it could be maybe 12 turning into 13, like around that?
Around then, yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. Now, let's take a look here. Saturn and Pluto are here right now. They're right here. They're not opposite anything. They're not at a right angle to anything. And you're not squaring here. So they're pretty cool. The big planets are not hitting you. Right now, Eris is about 24, 23. It's not opposite anything. It's not at a right angle. So the big three are not hitting you now. So you're kind of getting a reprieve from that. The next thing to look at, where's Uranus now? Uranus in your lifetime started here. It is now around 8 degrees of Taurus. Right here. So about 2 years ago, Uranus went over your moon. Now, usually that's somebody who moves. It's an emotional change, but I'll tell you the number one thing it was. Uranus went over your moon. We've already discussed your issues with your mom being moon Pluto. So I'm telling you, about 2 years ago, all of a sudden, you started relating to your mother.
Yeah.
You start
Yeah.
breaking down.
Definitely. No,
Right.
definitely.
Why was that? Was it magic? Was it somebody up in the sky saying, hey, these two should get along? Did it happen suddenly?
I guess the stars aligned and
It's
things
always,
started
it's
clicking for
always,
me.
it's always sudden with Uranus. Was it liberating?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did you start seeing her as a friend instead of a
Oh,
mother?
for sure.
Okay, here's what did it. This shows you how absolutely critically right on astrology is. Here's why it happened. Okay, Uranus is the planet of freedom and liberation. Takes 84 years to go all the way around. So it gets to about 2018, 2019, it starts to get in this area. And when it hits your moon, which rules your mother, and it contains this problem. What is this problem? This problem is some kind of emotional tug of war with your mother. All of a sudden, your Uranus hit this moon. It's not the planet Uranus. It was your Uranus from inside hit this Pluto. And what does Uranus do from inside? It wants to get past stuff. It wants to break stuff and get liberated from it. Your other option, if you had not broken through at that time, you would have had a real big chasm between you and your mom, and it may have been permanent. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, but luckily, that freedom-loving part of you came out, and she saw that. And I'm telling you, what I think a lot of it was is she saw that you were ready to drop the grievances.
Mhm.
And it's a wonderful thing that you broke through it. That make sense?
No, definitely.
Good. That's really good. Very good news. Let's go back and look at Neptune. All right, where's Neptune right now? Neptune is right here on this line. Oh boy, is that a big deal. That's a really big deal. It's at 18 right now. It's been at 19. Okay, what that means is that line at the bottom of the chart is called the nadir. It's the bottom of the chart. It's what you base your life on. It's usually the foundation, like of the Statue of Liberty, the foundation. Well, when a planet hits the bottom of the chart, it's time to rebuild your foundation, because you know at this point, intuitively, that you can't go anywhere until you get your foundation fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And when Neptune hits, it's not like Saturn, it's not like Pluto. When Neptune hits it, it's saying your life needs to be based on spirit.
Wow.
Not on fire, not on fire, not on earth, not on more construction. Neptune. Neptune is the Christ-like planet. And it is telling you, unless you start basing your life on spirit, you're going to go nowhere. That's what it's saying. Does that make sense to you?
When you say base my life on spirit, you mean like be like a more spiritual person?
Of course.
Gotcha.
Of course. Instead of making your decisions on money, instead of making your decisions on what class I'm going to be in, how much will I be recognized, all this and that, those are all false idols. Neptune wants you to base your life on all the things you've heard Christ say. Unless you come to me, you will go, all these different things he said. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Now, what I'm saying to you is you've heard these statements before, but you weren't ready to hear them. This is how I'm not picking on you. I'm saying this is how we all are. But when Neptune hits the bottom, you become hydroponic. You become no longer planted in soil. You get planted in water. Water is spirit. So even though you're a fire sign and you're very fiery, and you got a lot of confidence, and you got a lot of charm, a lot of zing, your chart is learning that I got to base my life on my heart, and my heart's not going to flutter unless it's based in spirit. It's that simple. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
Now, here's the really neat thing about it. You've been thinking stuff in the past couple months, and you've been thinking that they're your thoughts, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's so marvelous about astrology. You're part of the collective. Here's the story. When people say, what got into you? Well, what's come over Catherine? Well, what got into her? We know it, we see it, we feel it, but they don't realize that the astrologers know precisely what it is. They know when it's going to peak. They know what it means, how to deal with it, when it's going to subside. That's what the planets are. But we think the planets out there going, ooh, yeah. It's not what they are. We're always watching archetypal fluctuations within the collective. I mean, that's a big couple words. The universe keeps fluctuating. I don't know what God's plans and God's patterns are, but the same force that moves the planets moves your heart. It's just that people like Catherine here, marvelous beings like her, she's in touch with it. She feels it. Catherine's not a typical Gemini. I've been watching her for years on Facebook. She's a one big smile after another. She's one big fat smile after another because she's enjoying life with these people, these people, these people, these people. It's not because she's a Gemini. It's because she's in touch with the spirits. I'm not trying to be an evangelist here, but you all know this. If the people you meet with big smiles on their face, they have a strong spiritual life. And what do we know about people without it? Let's ask Mr. McConnell about his spiritual life. Let's ask some of these SOBs at the GOP Senate about their spiritual life. So that's the real big thing going on in your life now. And this is go ahead, dear.
No, I'm saying definitely. That's very true.
Okay, now I want to tell you something about this. This is a very good sign because it's not necessarily a Leo thing. Leos are not necessarily real spiritual people. I mean, they have strong spirits inside, but they don't really talk about spiritual attainment and meditation and harmony and all that because they're more prone to looking inside for their own fire. But the fact that Neptune's there and you're feeling it indicates that channel's already open. And that's why you were put on the show.
Yeah, definitely.
It's why you were put on here to validate it, which is really rare because the big ones right now are Saturn, Pluto, and Eris, and they're not doing much in your chart. The base of your chart is changing, the very basis with Neptune. And what that means, matter of fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if she went out yesterday and bought some tomato plants that were hydroponic.
Oh, no, I need to go to the grocery store.
That's how this works.
Yeah.
Did you do it?
No, but I do want to start growing tomatoes. Because I said that's easy for me to grow on my balcony. So.
Right, but I want to know, were you thinking of putting them in soil or hanging just in water?
Well, I was thinking about one of those topsy-turvy things, so however that works, the hanging thing.
You see how we think we're so damn independent. We think we're so strong, and it's all going on in my big, powerful mind. And it's not. How do I know this stuff? I never met you before.
Right.
But see, right. I'm dealing at the archetypal level, but you're open to it. You could have been closed to it. Why? You could have had spiritual experiences when you were young that caused trauma in your life. You could have been dragged to a church, made to feel bad, and you just got this thing about crossing out all things spiritual, but you didn't. You were open and you stayed open. And then you went through the wonderful conquest of the moon Pluto. That moon Pluto could have been very nasty with you and your mom, and you got past it. And it's not always easy. So it's another plus in your side, on your side. But the big thing to say to you without a doubt is, and I don't want to get too far out with this because I want to leave room for you to grow this the way you want.
Mhm.
Your foundation in your life is becoming more and more spiritually based as opposed to whatever it was in the past.
Mhm.
So whenever you get a boyfriend or you get some friends or whatever, you're going to be measuring everybody, but is this helping me with my spiritual growth or not? Because if
Yeah.
it isn't, goodbye.
Mhm.
And in the past, you would have said, okay, as long as I get enough attention. That's a Leo needs, see?
Mhm.
So I think it's a very good sign. You understand me?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. This was definitely gave me a lot of reassurance because I have been feeling that I need to move away from the path that I thought I was supposed to be on and move more towards the spiritual path. And I mean, it's just interesting how people like Claudia were put in my path, and she introduced me to you, and this reading is spot on. But everything in my life seems to be going that direction. So yeah, I mean,
That's
everything.
exactly right. And that's because you're not trying to direct it.
Yeah.
That's true. You're not
Yeah.
trying to direct it. Maybe Melody could tell us about that. Because I like to pick on Melody. Melody's so smart. What,
Oh boy.
Melody, what happens, because you're really smart, you're a good astrology student. What happens to people when they try to drive?
Their own resistance comes up and hijacks them. So
Exactly.
if you try to drive, you got your own idea about where you're going, and you're not working with the car that you got. You're trying to make it do something that, like, you can do things that will drive that aren't you were talking about intention earlier, Rick. And I mean, I think we can drive with the right touch of intention, but it's more like, honestly, it's more like a manual transmission than it is an automatic.
Yeah.
You can't just do it without any kind of conscious intent. You have to go, oh, you know what? This curve is for third gear, and you got to get it there. And oh man, my third gear's out right now because whatever, Mercury's retrograde. I need to shift over here, and don't grind the gears while you're doing it. Maybe
That's
I
right.
need to
You have
cruise
to
for a while.
modify your actions to be in sync with what's coming from the back seat. That's very well put. I knew I picked on the right person. Perfect. And the next person I want to hear from is the one who's got her hand over her mouth because she's trying real hard not to let it out. Come on, Catherine. You're going, what do you have to say about all this? Because I know you're a woman that flows with things. We need to unmute you. I'm asking to unmute you, and you have to click on unmute. There. What do you think about what you're hearing?
Well, I love it. Even though I am not an astrology student, I don't really understand the details, but I find this whole conversation beyond intriguing. And I did have lunch with my yoga girls today, and it was pure spirituality in the discussion. It was like we were a tribe, and we were, it was somebody's birthday. We were willing to be honest and, like not afraid. And I found it the most exhilarating outing I've had probably since the pandemic started. And it was an innocent, just an innocent lunch.
Well, that's a beautiful thing because the power of the flow. That's where David Hawkins' book was written, Power versus Force.
Force, right.
And so much of us in the West were into force.
Right.
Oh, yeah, mine's bigger than yours is. Oh, yeah, well, mine will beat down yours. Oh, yeah. And power is none of that. It's just resting back and letting the waves take you.
Before I signed on tonight, the guy I go out with lives in Rhode Island, and he was supposed to come next week and then drive me to Rhode Island for the Thanksgiving thing. But their governor has shut down the state, who's going to call later tonight. And I think it's all going to be off. Nobody's allowed out of the state or in the
Well, you
state.
got to.
And I think I'm just going to be here in Pittsburgh, PA, doing nothing.
And you know it's going to end up being optimal. Now, I'm going to take this moment to show you for next week, even though we're not done. Do not miss next week. My guest is Nook Sanchez. It will be show number 200. Show number 100 was, my guest was her student, Nick Arandes. They're both experts and authors on the Course in Miracles. Are there people here that have not heard of the Course in Miracles?
I've read it all years ago.
Okay, the Course in Miracles was given to us by Jesus in 1965 to two professors at Columbia University because they were not getting along. And they said to the sky or to the universe, there's got to be a better way. They were fighting all the time. And out of nowhere, the one woman, Helen Schuckman, started to get transmissions from Jesus. This is A Course in Miracles. Please take note. And it went on for 7 years. And the guy across the room, Charles Thetford, started taking notes. And she laid there and channeled. She channeled this big book, 3 books.
Oh, I've read them all. Yeah.
Great big text, great big manual for teachers, and one for every day of the year, exercises. Well, that was out. Now, what fascinated me about it, that happened 10 days after Uranus and Pluto. Uranus and Pluto conjuncted on October 8th of 65. This was 10 days later, October 18th. That's how I validated it. Because I go back and look at the planets. If somebody says they're psychic or whatever, I go look at the planets, see if it's possible. Or if I think it's possible. So anyhow, the years have gone by. Jesus supposedly has channeled other books. Nook Sanchez is a brilliant Australian now living in New Mexico with her partner. They'll both be here next week. She's got her 4th book out now, Holy Relationships. So she had 1 book, then she's doing a trilogy. She's finished the first 2. The middle book is Holy Relationships. The End of Death was the first one. And then she's working on the 3rd and final one. So she talks about there is no death. She talks, I'm not saying here's things I believe. This is what she talks about. And she's convincing, and she's very pure. There is no death. There is no body. There's no reason to die. There is no universe that you're creating it all inside your own head. There is no separation. We're all one mind. Okay, these are nice little things to chit-chat about. She ain't chit-chat. She's down to it. You don't want to miss this because she is just excellent. She doesn't mess around. She is a Scorpio with her Sun and Neptune at the same degree. Sun, Neptune, same degree. What that means is 100% dedication. Not 99, 100. She's very soft-spoken, but she'll blow your socks off because she's so incredibly accurate. So she'll be here 8 o'clock, and I'm going to play it up big all week and try to get a nice crowd for her and Daniel. Next Thursday night, show number 200. Okay, we have time to stop now. If you would like me, Tashi, I'll go a little further in your chart. Let me see what else I can find. As we bring it to an end, you're really doing well. I told you you would get the message sooner or later. You got the messages all about Neptune being right here.
Yeah.
This Saturn in Scorpio in the past, let me take a look at a couple of things here. Jupiter, Neptune, Z squared to Uranus, Pluto, Moon rising. A few more little things. Okay, this is interesting. I'm going to show you your sixth harmonic. And John is a really good student. He's understanding these things lately. Um, this is your chart. It's like changing lenses and zooming in on you. This is like the chart for you of your hero's journey, what you're here to do. These things are very accurate. And look up here all by itself. The sixth harmonic is like the Virgo harmonic. So it's all about what you should do. It's kind of like an aptitude test. Where do your talents lie? Okay, first of all, this is really interesting when you see this. Saturn in Capricorn house. This means no matter what you do, which is full of fire, you would be a really good administrator.
Hmm.
You just got that ability.
Okay.
You may not want to do it, but you just got the skills. You got good organizational skills. You got the ability to be fiery and rally everybody up, but you can also keep it contained within a business. You'd be very good at that. You have that skill. Does that surprise you?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. Okay, the moon is sitting right here on the descendant, really close to it. That tells me that you have a natural innate ability to direct women. You're very concerned about women's issues, the way women are being treated, and also the way children are being treated. You're
Yeah,
very sensitive to those two issues.
definitely.
So, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Honestly, I would like to have some sort of spiritual business. Like in a perfect world, if I could never fail, that's what I want to do, where I'm doing readings, selling spiritual essentials, healing, you know.
See
So
what,
that's what I'd like to do.
see what everybody's doing now?
Mhm.
Everybody. We've even got a doctor sitting amongst us. He's on it too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Tashi. I'm going to take a moment here. I'm kind of free forming it. Hold on, please. I want to talk to Dr. John. In case you didn't know this from way back, John has been my assistant on this show. And in case I ever come down with Kung Fluey or whatever, John would be your MC. But John's been with me since day one. John, I know you're a doctor of education. I want you to tell us about this thing you called me about, this educational system. What
Oh,
is it called? What is it, and what's going on with it? Because I'm sure that it's got Eris behind it.
that's interesting. So it's social emotional intelligence. So there are these trainings that I do. It's a series of workshops, and it's all about basically getting you in relationship with your emotions and how you respond to situations. Because most of us are on autopilot, and we just kind of like go through and react to everything. I mean, like think about like in politics, everybody's like pointing fingers at each other. Oh, you did this to me, you did this to me. And so everybody's like sort of in their victim situation. Oh, poor me, I lost my job. Poor me, my girlfriend left me, my boyfriend left me, whatever. And so you are constantly in the state of reacting. And really what it boils down to is that so much of what we do, how we respond to things in life comes back to how we were treated as a child or the things we experienced as a child. If our parents didn't love us, then we made up some kind of like, let's say, story about how we were unloved. And so everything that happens to us from that point on is all about, well, they fired me. I'm unlovable. I'm not good enough for my job, right? My wife walked out on me. So that means, well, that just totally validates everything that I experienced since I was 2 years old when my mother never gave me a hug. Or, my dad said, you'll never amount to anything. You're going to be a loser just like
You
I
don't see
was.
that in Trump's chart, do you?
Oh, it's undoubtedly. I mean, that's a rhetorical question,
It's
Rick.
all over everything he does.
Yeah, but that's basically what it's about, though. And I mean, as you learn more and more about it, it's gives you the opportunity to practice. And I mean, you really like get into situations where it's like, okay, now that I know how I would normally react to this. Can I choose something different? Can I do something, respond to the situation that occurs from a responsible standpoint? So it's really informative, and it's been a powerful experience for me, as you know. I mean, you and I worked together before this, though, and I think you saw me kind of really take this on and, go through a massive development.
Oh yeah, it's been Uranus in your chart.
Yeah, literally, like the moment it moved into my 11th house is when all this began for me. So
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you, John.
yeah, absolutely. If anybody's interested, reach out to me. I'll tell you
John
more about it.
Stegall on Facebook. Linda, let's pick on Linda a little bit here because Linda's so smart. I like to pick on her because you don't have to give her much notice. She's got things on her mind. Linda
What do you
is
want
a
to pick on me
professor.
about?
She's an English professor. What's on your mind these days?
Well, we have one more week of instruction in the COVID regime at my school. So I'm just hanging on, trying to finish. There's just, so much stuff going on there. But I was struck by something you said in the first half of the class when you're talking about Trump's chart and the wall in the chart. And I had this, it like hit me in the head. And I thought, oh, these sort of metaphoric things inside the chart can actually manifest themselves in the real world.
Exactly. And there is no real world. It's all
I know, but you know what I'm saying.
right. I understand.
I mean, it just
you.
like, I thought
It's
to myself,
all, and
oh my God.
You'll get to a point astrologically where you'll look at the symbol and you'll look at the person first and you'll do all your constructing there, and then you'll see the stuff out in the world.
I mean, and I think
Because
you could
everything
also
that goes on here goes on out there.
and I think and of course you could go backwards the other way, and to try to figure out, like for me, like this endless struggle with, trying to keep my weight down with all this stuff going on in the world. And there's got to be, if I wouldn't think of it as a wall, but I would think of it as a barrier of some kind. There's got to be an analogy in my chart about that. And not that I need to talk about that tonight, but it just occurred, that just hit me so vividly when you talked about the metaphor of the wall, that I think that it might be something for people to bear in mind when they have a reading, that there's, as above, so below, as in the chart, so in the
What is
life.
your name that does the work? Okay, Byron Katie. You're familiar with Byron Katie?
No.
Byron Katie's a lot like Carolyn Mace in terms of she's a very popular author, very strong spiritual leader. What would she say to you? She has a website called thework.com, and she would have you fill out one of her forms. She gives everybody a form, and whatever problem you think you have, you answer the 4 questions. And Catherine is so, her head's going up and down like a fishing bobber. I might let her answer this.
I did the work. I
Now,
did the
number 1 is, I'm not comfortable with my weight. Okay. Number 2, or I am real overweight. Number 2, is that really a fact?
You asking me?
I'm telling you how she does her thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying I suggest you try out her
Oh,
What I'm saying to you is, what happens if you get bigger? What happens if you get smaller? What is the problem?
Well, my blood pressure. That's.
Oh, you mean your blood pressure because of the weight?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
when I gain weight, there's always insulin resistance and there's blood pressure problems, and I don't want to be a diabetic.
Okay, well, I understand that. Okay, let's go back in time. I'm not going to get your chart up for this moment, but I'm going to give you some hints because you're a good astrology student. Go back to the time when your weight started to go up, and I don't think it had anything to do with COVID. What happened in astrology? It's always emotion. What happened to you emotionally when the problem started? What happened when the weight started to go up?
Well, this last time, it started to creep up. I can almost tell you the exact day. It was election day 2016.
No wonder.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I have a picture of me in my blue pantsuit at the polling place. There's my hopeful little face and my little suit, and I looked real cute, and I was all pantsuity. And then it was like, okay, I can't remember. I mean, I don't even. It's just like that's just. I had been doing so well physically with the yoga and everything else, and then it was just like, oh.
Okay, well, I know what I think part of the answer is here. Part of it. Libra people are very social. Other people are somewhat social. Libra people are social. So they have a very hard time separating who they are with who the society is.
Oh, that
They
makes
get
perfect
obsessed with who they are, and they get obsessed with society's not bouncing along the way they think it should. Because Libra people, I've watched this carefully, Libra people are addicted to their surroundings. They have to make their house pretty, the flowers pretty, the car pretty. They always marry somebody pretty. Always marry somebody attractive, 95% of the time. So I'm saying to you, with the message I'm getting, is very clear now from what you were just saying. Just because the outside world has become ugly, you are not it. I would work with that.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Well, I mean, but that just goes back to the wall thing. I mean, that what's going on in the chart, what's going on in the chart is also going on in the real world, and you can see it. And I think that's
what's going on in the chart of all of us is what's going on in the real world. Incorrect. What's going on in the world is an abuse. It's an abuse of the energy in the chart now.
Oh, I'm not making a value judgment about it. I'm just saying that the metaphors will be there. What we make of
What
them
is Eris and Saturn and Pluto doing right now? Phenomenally. It's saying, get with your evolution or get out of here. That's what it's saying. Get with it. Now, all of a sudden, we've been real loosey-goosey for a long time. We didn't have to hand our homework in. But Saturn, Pluto, Eris now, they're saying, get with it. Do you care about this environment or not? And we're seeing a lot of people that just can't handle all this homework all of a sudden. But what I'm telling you is, you're very smart, and you're smart enough, and this is hard. It's really hard in astrology to do this. You're smart enough to overcome your own natural archetypal basis. You're smart enough and strong enough to realize that you are Linda and society's out here, and that you can do whatever you want in your own temple. And the outside world is going to get better because of it. That's my opinion.
I think that's very interesting. But
if you'd like to work, we can work on this.
It's just so funny though when you said when did it start, and I can tell you like almost the hour when I want to go. Okay.
Sure, because when you
bring me a cupcake,
when you draw a really ugly society for a Libra, they just get sick.
Well, that's exactly what's happened to me.
Because Libra, so much about that's what the scales are about. Is the scales one you me comparison. You, me, it, my relationship. You saw Lennon and McCartney for years, Lennon and Libra. You know he didn't like him. You know he couldn't stand McCartney. McCartney pissed him off, for whatever reason. Nobody else could write a song. Only those two are allowed. George will tell you. But John had the thing going with the relationship. What happened the minute he met Yoko?
Bye.
So the point is not judgment. The point is Libra, and you have to, in this book, you have to transcend your own, even upside down books. You have to transcend your own instinct. because your instinct is to get a lot of identity from the partner, from the exterior. And I say that's fine, but there's 4 signs after you. There's 5 signs after you. There's a lot more to learn. And I think once you start to learn that I'm me and the world is out there and it's okay and work with this, I think you'll see your weight go down.
Well, that sounds like a great challenge.
I'm interested. I'll keep my ear out on this subject.
I mean, I hadn't meant it to go there, but thank you. That's good.
Well, that's how it goes. Right, Taishi? It goes. Let's hear from Taishi as we wrap up our last 5 minutes here. We get her asked to unmute. We'll mute her. Taishi, give me your overall, now that you've been blasted against the wall. I got Jupiter at the same degree as Eris. I can't help it. I'm born with Jupiter and Eris. So are you, Marcia. We're born with Jupiter and Eris at 6 degrees of Aries, both of us. Okay? We can't help it. Who's going to play puck? Marcia's playing puck. That's who. Hey, I wanted to ask you before I forgot. We did a play a long time ago by the Karen individual. His last name was Karen. Mark Karen from New York City. And we did Peter Pan to a Joni Mitchell album. Did you play Peter? Oh, he played Peter Pan, didn't he? Yeah, he did. You don't remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, he played. You played Puck. We're 2 Shakespearean actors. A long time ago. Taishi, what do you think of all this crazy stuff?
Tonight was amazing. It was my first time. I appreciate you. I appreciate Claudia for telling me about it. The reading was, it was spot on. Everything you said, I can't find a lie at all. Everything was true. So I definitely appreciate the reassurance of sticking to the spiritual path and not resisting it. Because I had a psychic reading in the past, and that's one thing she told me, I have to go along with my first instinct and don't resist it. So it was definitely reassuring and hopeful to hear that. So I feel like I'm on the right path. I'm, pushed along the right way. So
you're on the right path. And one thing I wanted to mention, I thought I'd talk about this tonight at the end. Well, thank you. Is this is one of the reasons that a lot of astrologers out there are not that good. And I don't mean to be judgmental, but I'm telling you what the facts are here. They take a planet like Mars in the 4th house and the opposite Saturn, and they got a formula for what they think that means, and they get caught up in a rigid definition of what those planets mean. And what I've learned is that's a starting point. But luckily, I studied a guy named Stephen Arroyo for decades, and he taught me to think. Not just to take the face value of these planets. What does Mars mean in the 2nd house opposite to Saturn? You have to think and translate that into human terms. What does this mean for this person's life? And it all came down to one thing. What is their story? What's their story? And did you notice I did not know Taishi's story, but I had hints at it. And I didn't play games with her. I offered her this, I offered her that. And as you do this, you get more and more confident. And she was free to translate her mother as this, her mother as that. And I didn't lambaste myself when I'm off. When you're early as an astrologer, you have a real tendency to beat yourself up. Oh, that was wrong. Don't say anything. But I didn't do that. I give myself more and more slack. I played with it. I told you it took me 3 years to do my girlfriend's moon Pluto. 3 years. And I was trying all the time. But the point is, when you work with the person wants their story told. The person wants help. They do. They don't understand it. They're also realizing that they've been sent to you, sent together. So it's a marvelous thing for me and the person getting read for, and that's why we have Astrology Unplugged. And by the way, everybody, I'm researching t-shirts. I have been unplugged. Just gonna say, I have been unplugged, and they're gonna have to see your back to figure it out. Catherine, come back to us.
Okay, Rick, was great.
John, come back to us. Taishi, come back to us.
We'll be back.
We'll see you next week. Don't miss it.
All right.
Rick,
Only
you.
got 100 seats.
thank you.
You don't want to miss Nook Sanchez, and I'll be blasting this on the mailing list and on Facebook. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Rick. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Tai Chi, for
Bye-bye.
sharing your chart with us.
Oh, thank you for Rick reading it. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John. Good night, everybody.